Hey, this is Pat, and today we are checking out the all-new REV'IT Cassini gloves. Now, the Cassini gloves are designed for those riders out there that are maybe touring, commuting, or just pushing even farther into the winter months, because this is going to be designed to really battle the elements as much as it is battling any impact or abrasion protection when you go down. So keep that in mind. If you're looking for something that can go into the colder months of the year, the Cassinis might just be the right glove for you. They do have a 3M thin insulation throughout the entire back of the hand, a Hydrotex waterproof liner, as well as a goat leather on the palm side of it for that abrasion resistance. So they are pretty beefy, all coming in around that $100 price point. But before I get too long-winded on all the features, let's run through some of the sizing on this. So I measure my palm just about 8.75 inches in circumference. That puts me in a large according to REV'IT's size chart, and the size large is fitting me spot on. I definitely have enough space in there to activate the controls and really ride comfortably all day, especially knowing that the leather on the palm is going to break in just a little bit, enough to give me just a little bit more room as I start working these through, because it is PWR stretched down the back of the hand, but that leather will break in. The PWR on the back won't break in, but you will get a little bit of relief from the palm side. Comes in 3 colorways. I do have all 3 up on the table with me. You have the gray, the black, as well as the green colorway. Sizes range from small all the way up to 3 extra large, and like I said, it is coming in at that $100 price point, and there is a men's and women's version available. But let's start at the top and work our way through these gloves and get through some of these features. You do have a single Velcro cuff up at the top, and you can even see the logoing there for that Hydrotex Z-liner. Hydrotex is REV'IT's proprietary waterproofing, so that runs from the top of the cuff all the way down to the fingertips. And what I will say is it does have Mic Fit built into it as well. And what Mic Fit is actually replicates Gore's grip technology out there. The waterproof liner, that Hydrotex liner, is going to be glued at the palm as well as at the fingertips, so it stays in place. If you've ever been getting gas off the bike, taking your hands out of gloves and then putting them back in, if your hands are wet or if it's cold out, they can sometimes pull the liner out. That's not going to happen with the Cassinis because it is glued into place. So keep that in mind. I mentioned you do have 3M Thinsulate in here that's running down the entire back of the hand, really to help battle the elements while you're in the riding position and keep your hand nice and toasty while not adding enough bulk up on the palm side. They keep it away from the palm so you can really feel the controls riding around. A little bit of a reflective logo up at the top cuff back here, and again that PWR stretch running down the entire back of the hand. You do have a hard knuckle with some foam underneath of it for a little bit of comfort. Has some flex to it, not the most malleable knuckle I've seen out there on the market, but really good protection at the top. It's a knuckle that REV'IT has been using for quite a few years. Accordion stretch at the base of the important fingers on there, and I say the important fingers because it's the ones you're going to be grabbing the controls with, both on the left and right hand, so I like that they've included that. Little pops of reflective running down the back of the fingers, and again, a really just clean overall design. If I swing to the inside on here, you do have a suede visor wipe. I prefer this over TPR. Just reduces the bulk, and if you've ever scratched your nose with a TPR visor by accident, you never forget that experience. So I like when companies use the suede style on the interior of it. Makes it a lot easier if you are wiping the visor back and forth. Touch deck on the index and the thumb, and a little bit of pre-curve built into the fingers themselves. And I like that they've added this accent stitching at the trigger fingers. That just adds a little bit more grip if it is wet out there. You're gonna be grabbing onto the controls and grabbing onto your shift lever or your front brake, and you're gonna have that little bit of extra grip built in there. If I swing to the outer seam, this is going to be my one main negative with the entire gloves. I would have loved to seen a big old swath of leather on the outer seam, just protecting that one in case you go down. That's usually the most vulnerable spot in the event of an accident, so I prefer when companies really just cover that seam up. So REV'IT, if you're listening, I'd love to see that on a version 2 of these gloves. I mentioned it before, goat leather down the entire palm side of it with a little bit of foam reinforcement and double layer leather at the palm slider. It's not a hard slider, but it is enough just to give you a little bit of extra protection should you hit the deck. And I like that they've covered that with an extra layer of leather. That is going to be a, down here at the palms, usually we call it the palm landing zone. It's where you're most prone to hit once you hit the side and the palms turn over. That's going to be a high abrasion zone. So I like that REV'IT added it in there. Could have done with a little bit of extra leather around the palm. That's going to be the most wear point when you're actually using these gloves and putting miles down on them. Would have loved to see an extra piece of leather that would have added bulk into it, so I can see why REV'IT left it out for that $100 price point. But all in, I'm not upset with what REV'IT is doing. They've been great at making shorter to mid-cuff style winter gloves if you are putting them underneath of Your jacket's cuff, I like that they give options out there that's not all gauntlet style. Gives a little bit more all-day use and all-day comfort for those out there pushing into the colder months. But if you have any other questions about the all-new Cassinis, click that info button. That's going to take you over to the product page where you can read other rider reviews and see what other riders are saying about these gloves. If you still have questions after that, or if you have questions on sizing, reach out to our customer service agents. They're all riders, happy to help you get set up for your next ride. I want to thank you for joining me and checking out the all-new REV'IT Cassini gloves. I'm Pat, and I'll see you in the next video.